Hello, my name's Paul McCarthy with Hero Facility Services, and welcome to episode 23, I believe, Facilities First. On this one, I've got a guy that when we think facilities, we usually think four walls and typical restaurants, buildings, and so forth. And I kind of went searching and found a guy that you're not going to want to miss this one. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Bill Keys with Under Canvas to the show. Bill, thanks for joining
Hi,
me.
Paul. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
It's been a couple back and forth trying to get this scheduled, but now we got it going. And first of all, say happy seventh anniversary
Thank
with,
you.
with Under Canvas. We just found that out that today's his seventh anniversary. And so we're going to talk more about Under Canvas and how y'all are unique and everything. But I start all the shows same way with a little icebreaker. So we're going to go through them. First word that comes to mind, just spit it out. Some of them I may have you elaborate on. So coffee or energy drink?
Coffee, black coffee.
Black coffee. Mountains or beach?
Both if I can. Depending.
Okay. What was your very first job?
I worked for my dad at his dealership uncrating four wheelers.
Oh, okay.
I was about 12.
About 12. Okay. Child labor laws weren't in effect back then. What's one tool you couldn't live without?
A pocket knife.
Oh. What's your biggest facilities pet peeve?
I really don't like to see switch plates that aren't square or screws that are in different directions on a switch plate or, an outlet plate.
Okay. Okay. Very detail oriented, I
Just,
can tell.
yeah.
Do we have those O and the C and the D initials somewhere or let's do it?
Not clinically, but possibly.
We'll ask your wife after the show.
Yeah.
So, if you weren't in facilities, what would you be doing today?
Um, That's a tough one. Probably some sort of park operations, which is kind of where I was headed before I got into facilities, really.
Okay. Okay. So, your team, all the people that report to you, what's one word they might use to describe you?
Oh, that's
On a good day.
um
On a good day.
yeah, on a good day. I think helpful. I would like to hope helpful, understanding, something along those lines.
And I think I know the answer to this one, but favorite national park?
Yellowstone, hands down.
That's what I thought. And if my memory serves me, that's where Under Kevin started, is in West Yellowstone, right?
Yep. West Yellowstone, Montana was our first property.
First property. Okay. And that started 2012 ish?
Yeah, that was pre my time, but yeah, that's right around then.
Okay. But you spent some time there, and that's, you talked very candidly and how much you love that place. So
Yeah,
I knew,
I gave my 20s to Yellowstone National Park for sure.
did you?
Oh yeah.
So facilities, it's a word that not many people understand. They think that everything just runs on its own, nothing breaks. So, what is one thing that you think people really misunderstand about facilities management?
I think the general thought is it's mostly just maintaining assets or pieces of equipment, more of a maintenance side than, kind of an all encompassing from, infrastructure, roads, buildings, vendor relations, contractors, that it's a much larger umbrella than what I think most people probably assume.
Yeah. And it's, from my side being on the vendor side, I see how many different hats you guys and girls wear because I mean, no 2 days are alike for y'all.
Yeah.
And so you can run into some crazy things and I usually ask this one and with you I have to ask this one. And this is kind of a surprise. What is the craziest facility call you've had so far since you've been at Under Canvas?
Um, ooh, I mean, that's that one that one takes a little bit of thought. Um, property, like having a variable frequency drive go out on a well for a whole property
Okay.
is, that's one on like a Friday at 5 o'clock local time is what it goes. So
Isn't
that's,
isn't that when it always happens?
yeah,
Friday at 5 o'clock?
yeah. So that one probably, we've had, there was dealing with remote locations, evacuations because of fires, which are out of our control, or hurricane issues with places in the East Coast. I mean, it's there was a little bit of everything.
Yeah, you have this lady called Mother Nature that also kind of throws some havoc into your life.
Yeah, sometimes she can be very loving, and other times she can be a little bit spiteful.
So let's learn a little bit about you, Bill. So tell us about yourself, your career, uh, just who you are. How'd you end up at Under Canvas?
Um, I went to school Potomac State College, West Virginia University for forestry, recreation, and parks management. I got out. Uh, Thought I was 2010, so post the 2008 economic issues. I ran a small community park at about 100 or so permanent campsites. Had events, ran coordinated events there, and then and 2 years in and decided before I applied for a job with the state, I was going to go to Yellowstone for a summer. That summer turned into 6 years and probably 5 or 6 different jobs
Oh,
through the
wow.
course of that. So I did a lot of, I grew up around my dad's shop, worked on a lot of equipment, worked in maintenance when I was in college. So just kind of gravitated towards, kind of for my whole life. But yeah, that was really kind of the catalyst. Did a lot of maintenance whenever I was at that park in PA, just because we had a very small team, and everybody kind of had to do a little bit of everything. So got a lot more involved with it there, and then yeah, got into Yellowstone, working for the concessions company Xanterra, and just it kind of turned me loose. And
Turned you loose.
yeah, I got to learn a lot of stuff from a lot of amazing people, and really helped my career.
Awesome. Awesome. So I'm hearing a reoccurring theme. So somewhere along the way, little Bill said, I want to live a life and work around mountains and be outside. When did that hit you?
Um, My dad took me to Wyoming the first time when I was 11 years old, and just kind of stuck. I went to school in West Virginia. I mean, I grew up in West Central Pennsylvania, out in the country, with a BB gun when I was a kid, fishing and on a 4 wheeler, and just it's always been something that I've gravitated towards, and this is allows me to do it and see it and be in a bunch of different places across this country.
You probably have a dream job for a lot of people, minus the headaches that it comes with every once in a while.
Yeah.
Well, so you talked about Under Canvas, and you started working with them, and then you were how did that transpire that you moved up through Under Canvas?
So a former coworker of mine from Xanterra that worked in our engineering office was with the company, and kind of opened me up to the view of it, or the company itself. Sent in my resume and interviewed with one of the founders in Bozeman, and stepped right into the regional facilities manager role. At that point, it was 5 or 6 properties for my region, and have been kind of in there ever since. It's changed a lot as the company's grown. A lot of different things have come and gone, and you know, it's uh, it's been a very dynamic position, and that's one of the reasons why I love it.
So a lot of people are going, "What is Under Canvas?"
So
So yeah, go ahead.
at the it is a glamping company. We have properties dotted kind of all across the country at this point, from Maine to California and kind of everywhere in between. So yeah, the idea of it is getting people out into the outdoors without it necessarily being the roughing it. People get out. We have um, some of our tents we call safari tents, which are a bed, a wood stove, and a tent, and then there's a communal bathhouse that has private bathrooms and everything, and it goes up through the rest of them. Then have their own private bathroom. They've got king size beds, wood stoves. You've got a full bathroom, shower, sink, toilet right in your tent.
So, husbands, you hear that when your wife says she won't go camping, you can say glamping, and you can look up under canvas. And speaking of looking up, Peyton, will you go ahead and put that picture up on the screen, please? So, I found this picture earlier, and when I was looking at the locations, and if y'all can see, that is Mount Rushmore right in the back. And so you could be glamping there and have that view, and that is amazing. And I think you have some others in Moab, uh, the Great Smoky Mountains,
Yep.
14 locations, I believe.
I would have to count. I think it's 17 now
17.
with everything. We also have a couple that fall under. We have our Alum property, which properties are outside of Moab. We have our outdoor collection, which includes Bar End Ranch in West Yellowstone and Fields of Michigan outside of South Haven, Michigan. So
Okay.
it's yeah, there's something or someplace for everyone, really.
So what kind of experience do y'all try to create for your guests?
We really try to center around the outdoors. There's different programs we work with, different local vendors and guides, across the different properties for tours, and it could be rafting, it could be photography, it could just be stargazing. We're really pushing the dark sky compliances and working with that so that people can go out and see the Milky Way or a shooting star that have never seen it. Because it's amazing that people, for me coming from the country, I mean, I grew up seeing the stars and shooting stars and
Yep.
that, but that have said like this is the first time we've seen the Milky Way or seen a shooting star. It's been at our properties.
So it really is that experiential all around. It just seeing a different side of nature that I think I call us city folks. We don't get to see it anymore because it's so congested.
Well, and it's
It's
also the outdoors and camping and everything. It's harder and harder to get into. Um, like Forest Service National Park campsites. Then you're packing everything you have, or you're renting an RV, or doing both. So it's really nice to see people that maybe wouldn't experience the outdoors in this sense or in a camping sense be able to come out and do it without it being. I mean, a good tent is not cheap anymore, even for to just have your own, and then the gear for 4 or 5 people. So yeah, it's really nice to see people that are from a metropolitan area. They're like, oh, this is great. This is that have never got to see it. It really hits home when you get to talk to guests like that. They're like, oh yeah, this is 100% why we do this.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So the some of these questions are going to be about facilities because
Mhm.
I was trying to think about it as we were coming into this. But what are some things that the guests never see that your facilities team is responsible for?
I mean, the biggest thing that comes to mind for me would be infrastructure. You know, Remote locations. We're dealing with wells. We're dealing with cisterns. We're dealing sometimes with water treatment. Sometimes with water that has to be hauled in. That and then with infrastructure as well. Waste removal, septic, trash. We try to maintain it that we don't have issues. Nobody wants to see that or deal with that. But I think that's probably those are big systems. Those are the most complex parts of it. Hands down that
Yeah.
we deal with.
And you do have some teams on site that they're kind of the boots on the ground and you just kind of oversee it for all of
Yeah,
them.
and a lot of it'll be as a support mechanism. I've always said since I started this job, my the main part of my job is to be there to support the properties, whether it's, hey, we need to find a vendor for this or check on compliance for something, or just to walk through an issue that they might have never seen before that hopefully I have had the chance to work through and be able to be an asset to them.
And that's a great point. And this is one thing I hear continuously as I do this show is the facility managers from back in the 90s have kind of evolved, and they wear a lot of hats. But one of the biggest hats they wear, whether it's at under canvas or at a traditional brick wall, is they educate a lot, and they work with their team and they help their team grow. You mentioned situations that you might have been through that you can help walk them through that. Is that is that a big thing that you're getting to do now? Is the educational side of it with your team?
Yeah, and that's honestly um, it's honestly probably the biggest part and what I like the most is being able to pass on knowledge. I've had the privilege of being able to learn from people from kind of all across the country, that have been just one of my people I learned the most from was a union plumber in Long Island who got sick of living in the city and headed out to Yellowstone. And he, walked me through and taught me more plumbing than I probably ever would have learned without working with him. Great electricians, carpenters, boiler techs, just a lot of that all has kind of added up to the experience and the skills that I have and being able to pass that along and teach, some younger people that have never done it how to solder a piece of pipe. Like, and they're just, you see the sense of accomplishment they have. It's fantastic. It's my favorite part of the job.
That's super cool, and I love it that it's so education oriented, because you know I talk about it all the time. I called a timeout in my third quarter, just hoping I don't get to the fourth quarter of my life yet. But it's now more important to me to leave the legacy and teach people and just give them my knowledge, because it's one thing we can all steal for free, right?
Yeah.
So what's let's do this one. This will be a fun one for you. What does a typical day look like for you and your team?
For me, there is a lot of emails, a lot of phone calls. You know, the, a lot of the behind the scenes, gathering information for doing projects, making sure, hey, you guys got this taken care of or squared away, or we've got a vendor or contractor set up for X, Y, and Z. Um, for the teams, biggest thing first thing in the morning, making sure guests are taken care of. If there are any complaints that couldn't be taken care of by, say, our night person or somebody that was on overnights, that we're addressing that right off the get go. A lot of preventative maintenance, going through and punching tents before guests come in.
Yeah.
It's you have to hit that yin and the yang of preventative maintenance, so you're not overdoing it. But getting into those tents before we have guests in is a huge one, because we can catch the things that we might not have heard from a guest because they didn't see it or didn't realize it was an issue. Then the next guest doesn't have to deal with it.
It's almost like in a sense you're the mayor of your own little city and you have your municipality department.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's in these the teams do great. I mean, I tell them I try to make sure they know, like, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have a job. I'm here as a resource, but at the end of the day, they're the ones for the most part that are turning the wrenches and making sure that things get taken care of. I'm just here to make sure that we do it in a safe, legal, you know, everything is by the book, and that we get through it and are as successful as possible.
Well, I think I'm going to just start calling you the mayor of Yellowstone. That's what we're going to call you. So we talked about it a little bit earlier, but that lady, Mother Nature, and she sometimes jumps in and affects you, whether it be with fires, whether it be with hurricanes, or any other natural disaster type thing. So, do you have any stories or any times that you had to deal with that, and how would you deal with that?
um, I mean, all across, kind of since I mean, all of my working career in facilities management have dealt with a lot of Mother Nature's habits. I was a winterkeeper supervisor in Yellowstone National Park, so we were constantly dealing with. I mean, the heaviest year I think I saw when I was there was like 20 feet of total snowfall. So snowpack was a big worry, making sure historic structures didn't collapse. We didn't have anybody injured. The crew was all ropes were good. That all of our stuff was good. A lot there for sure. And the biggest thing I think is the cold, making sure we don't have freeze ups and stuff. Winterization, making sure it's timely and performed well, so then we can save money and not have to fix things. I had a boss that told me, "You make your opening at closing," and I have tried to. I tell every team that to the point where I show up sometimes at a closing, like, "Yeah, we know we're going to make our opening at closing." Yeah, Mother Nature across the board. It's you never know, especially when you're dealing with things that aren't brick and mortar.
And this is one of the biggest reasons I wanted you on here is because this is such a fascinating facilities job to me because you have basically a you don't have a roof on top of your head.
Yes, we've got a rain fly.
Exactly. And dealing with snow and all those other variables, and you still somehow have to make this little city run. Um, just me question random. The tents are slanted; they kind of curve. How do y'all keep the snow off of them?
We do have some properties that stay up year round that are in areas that don't get a huge snow load. Um, we use, and there are times when they're up and it does snow. We've had, a foot of snow come down the opening weekend at West Yellowstone while I've been there. And the teams, it is a massive amount of manpower, people working as a team. We use snow rigs. When it starts to melt, sometimes it'll ice up and you're up there, scooping slush off of it if it's a wet snow. It is pure labor to keep the snow off.
Wow.
Snow rigs, we make sure that people are doing it in a safe manner in groups, and people working in shifts sometimes for 24 hours, a couple hours on, a couple hours off, clearing snow, and they do a fantastic job.
Wow. So if you were talking to somebody in facilities who does the brick and mortar style, what do you think is one lesson that they could learn from you at Under Canvas that you've learned?
For me, it is taking care of the small things because they do add up. When you've got 80 tents with all that have a water heater, all that have a toilet, a sink, yeah, it's not a massively complex system. We're not running a horizontal tube boiler that's running a hydronic heat system. But if you start having problems with a bunch of these, it adds up real quick. Rather than being one large problem that you can put your best minds on, we might have 85 small problems. So that's, I think, taking care of the little things is definitely probably something that I've learned for myself coming into it. Like those little things add up, and they add up way quicker than you'll think. It snowballs.
And you said those two initials earlier, preventive maintenance.
Yeah,
And that's something that I think the facilities world, it used to be a line item of just a cost.
yeah,
And now a lot of people are coming around to, oh, wait a minute. Preventive maintenance is going to elongate my asset, whether it be, the tents or whatever you have. So that's one thing that is good to hear, that preventive maintenance is big. And even in your role with
oh
your
yeah. I mean,
city,
it's for anything from a tent zipper to a water heater to the equipment we run, golf carts, gators, mules. Just a few minutes and a little bit of time spent working on it can save a massive amount of money and time. I mean,
yeah,
even in things like cleaning out a lint trap on a dryer, like it's not preventive maintenance isn't necessarily massively complex or time consuming. You just have to get to it. And that's
yeah.
one thing we've done a really good job with.
So let me ask you this. What's a leadership lesson that you learned from either a mentor, your dad, or somebody you've worked with that's just kind of stayed with you throughout the years?
Um, Freshman year of college, I was working at a state park as a custodial worker. Pretty exciting. Also doing professional field experience. And I remember about the first week, I told my dad, I said, I don't like it. I don't want to be here. He's like, well, he's like, just stick with it. You can learn something from every job you've had. And that has really stuck with me, is just trying to pick up something from someone, or, learning a new skill, a new shortcut, however it could be, is learning something from every job and every day. And
Yeah.
I've really tried to, think of that many times through my career.
I don't remember, I'm a little bit older than you, but I don't remember hearing the word growth a lot from my parents. But I hear it all the time now. Our generation, it's about personal growth,
Yeah.
and it's about making ourselves better. So, where do you see your facilities industry heading in the next couple of years?
I mean, I feel like this is, the glamping, the outdoor hospitality continuing to grow. I think there was the great migration. Everybody shifted towards the cities, and now I think people are realizing, like, oh, there's more than the hustle and bustle. And even if they can't leave the city and go, move to a farm or the country, they can get out and they can have these, outdoor experiences without it being a drudge, for, I guess, lack of a better term. Packing everybody up in a cooler and finding a tent and making sure the tent gets set up. I think it's going to continue to grow. I really
Yeah.
do.
Yeah. So let me ask a question about, does have you started implementing AI into some of your I say back of house stuff?
Not really. No, honestly, at this point, I do think that it will, as it continues to grow. I think, speaking broadly about facilities, is I think AI will make, predictive maintenance probably a lot easier than what it has been in the past, which, you can save a lot of money if you do it right. So
Yeah.
I think that's something that we will see come about and be more prevalent across facilities as a
Yeah.
whole.
Well, it has been very, very interesting to learn more about Under Canvas. And for anybody out there, just type in Under Canvas and it says glamping tents and accommodations.
Yeah.
And there are some beautiful pictures. It's a neat concept. And I appreciate you coming on, but you're not getting off so easy.
Okay.
I always end each show with two questions. So the first question is going to be, what hill will you die on, whether it be in facilities, leadership, or life?
Um, ooh, Probably in life, just that continuing to learn, whether it's, anything that's job related, or your personal life, or, learning a new hobby so that you can pass it on to your kids. Just continuing to learn and grow. It's huge in every part of your life.
I like that. So now here's one that's really going to stump you. What is the one question I should have asked Bill, but I didn't know I should ask you?
Oh, I that that is you have covered a lot, and it's been great. I honestly, that is one. I mean, I anybody that knows me knows that I'm not a loss for words too often, but I really don't know what I would have, if I was in your shoes, what I would have asked differently or in addition. I mean,
Okay.
I think we covered a lot, for sure.
Well, let me ask you this. We have any stupid human tricks we do or anything like that?
That I don't know.
Maybe I need to ask your wife afterwards.
Yeah, there's yeah, I'm sure if you asked her, she would be able to give you a plethora. Uh,
Yeah.
you know, oh, I don't know. You're stumping me too. And that does not, I mean, twice, two questions in a row. That's probably a record for me, to be 100% honest with you.
Well,
Uh,
I'm going to put that in the win box for me.
you should,
Paul
100%.
one, Bill nothing.
For sure.
Well, Bill, listen, I appreciate you coming on. We're running out of time. Like I said, if anybody wants to look up Under Canvas, go look at it. It's a great concept. It's a cool concept, and it really is something that I think we city people should look at, because you have to get in touch with nature, and it's an awesome concept. So, without further ado, thank you, sir, for being on the
Sure.
show.
Appreciate it.
And
It was great to talk with you. I really
it,
enjoyed it.
it was awesome. And we'll see you next time on Facilities First. Bye, everyone.